how do we make a sentence? Are sentences collection of random words? If not, what are the required components of a sentence? Right? So, in order to answer these questions, we saw we are still looking at how to make a sentence, but we saw definitely sentences are not random collection of words. It requires words very carefully. So, we were looking at required components of a sentence, and then we are still looking at how they all play a role in making a sentence, in the making of a sentence. And the components of agreement that we looked at were number, person, and gender. And then we talked about various things about them. And we sort of established that there must be an agreement between a noun and a verb. And the noun that really agrees with the verb is a subject of the sentence. Okay? This is what we established yesterday. Sometimes what we may think is a subject in a sentence may not be grammatically the subject of the sentence. And these two examples in 1 and 2 clearly show us that Raju and Seema, these two nouns, are not subjects of these two sentences, right? There is no change in these two sentences since yesterday, all right? Whereas, according to the requirement of the agreement, the following noun agrees with the verb and therefore is the subject of the sentence in both of them, all right? Okay. Moving on, we want to look at the categories and the abstract parts which play a huge role in a sentence. So, once again, if you look at this sentence, the words that you see, such as Raju, chai, and what's the verb there in sentence number 1? Verb is pina, right? P, Seema, save, khana, right? The words that you see in these sentences are called lexical items. They belong to the group that is called lexical categories, okay? And the things that we do not see clearly, that is the elements that are responsible for agreement and some other stuff, they are called functional categories. They belong to a category which is labeled as functional category. Many a times they are going to be visible, many a times they are not going to be visible, okay? Many a times such things are visible, many a time such things, by such things I mean functional categories, are not visible in a sentence. Is this point making sense to you? When we say visible and not visible, this making sense? So, going back to the sentence again, is what's visible and what's not visible? Raju, chai, pina, the lexical categories are going to be visible all the time, right? We are talking about functional categories. When we look at the components of agreement, is gender visible on the word Raju? Yes or no? No. We know it's masculine, but it's not visible. Likewise, it's not visible on the word Seema. Okay? So, the masculine or feminine gender of the two nouns respectively are not visible. However, and not however, likewise, the feminine gender of the noun chai, is that visible? It's not visible. Masculine gender of the word save, is that visible? Not visible. Plural marker on the verb save, is that visible? Couple of days ago we have looked at plural markers, right? Is this plural marker visible on this word? Not visible. This is what I meant when I said lot of times these things are not going to be visible. We need to see them carefully. When we look at the whole sentence, only then we see. Now, they are not visible with naked eyes. However, they play a great role in the sentence. Without them, without a proper matching between both these things, that is elements of functional categories, visible or not visible on lexical categories, without a matching, proper matching, which we call agreement, sentence is not possible. Therefore, we need to take into account the categories that are not visible. And here onwards, we are going to see lot of underlying things that are not ordinarily visible in a sentence. Alright? Now, do you see any gender marker visible on the verb in the first sentence? P, P. You see that visible? Do you see the gender marker visible on the second word? Yes. Is a plural marker visible on the verb khana? Yes. And singular marker on the verb pina? That's not visible. Now, the point is, lot of things are not visible. Sometimes they may surface. Sometimes you may be able to see them. Lot of times they are not visible. Elements that are not really visible many times are called functional categories. Or to put it the other way around, elements of functional categories are not many a times visible in sentences. So, we looked at 5 features. What about tense? What's the tense in these two sentences? In the first one, what's the sentence? What's the tense? Past tense. Do you see it visible anywhere? What part of this sentence tells you this is past tense? And of course, this question is only for people who can figure out some of the things of Hindi. P, but somebody said that's the marker of feminine gender. Ne and P. So, ne is the tense marker? No. Indicates is not important. I understand what you are trying to say. That probably only in these types of sentences you see ne. Therefore, ne may be indicating some kind of past tense. That's not what we are talking about. That even though that is independently true, that's not the point right now. The point is, do we see past tense marker anywhere? No. Okay. So, that's also not visible. And then there are a couple of other things which I have not discussed. For example, aspects. One right place to discuss aspect is these two sentences, but I will bring these two sentences back again and discuss that particular thing with you. Have you heard about these two words, these two terms, tense and aspect? Tense, everybody? Yeah. What are the tenses in languages? Past, present, future. And aspects? Have you heard or not? Honestly.
Continuous, past, perfect.
So, continuous or perfect are the examples of aspects. Now let me repeat this thing to a lot of you. If someone says continuous, past continuous, does that make an what sense does this make to you? Past continuous.
The action was happening at that particular time. It was happening.
It was happening, that is, it was in the process. It was under progress, right? Had already started but not finished. Okay? The element that talks about time, that gives you a sense of time, is called tense. Okay? The element that gives you sense of time is called tense. And the element which gives you extra information like this, something started but not finished, right? That's an example of aspect, which is continuous aspect. There could be more. Perfective aspect. What would be an example of perfective aspect? Perfect aspect, what does it mean?
He had finished the report.
He had finished the report. That is, for sure, the action of finishing, we know that it is over, not just because it is past tense. Something else is there in a sentence which tells us that this is over. Okay? In many languages, including English, we can have perfect aspect even in the present tense. What was your example? The example that you gave, he had finished. Can we say he has finished? He has finished reports. We can say that, right? What's the difference between he had finished and he has finished?
We are talking about a process that is happening in the past.
Sure, hold on. So we are definitely talking about something which not only happened in the past. The reason why it sounds like past is because the process of report is over. In both the sentences, the report writing or doing or anything is over. What is it that causes the difference between has and had, between these two sentences? So had refers to past tense and has refers to present tense. So there is a possibility where we can say present perfect and past perfect. To underline this thing once more, what's the actual difference between the two? We decided one is past, the other is present. Both are perfect. But what's the difference in terms of their meanings?
One
He has just finished the report.
Just finished the report. And the other one?
He has finished the report maybe some time ago.
Long time ago?
Yeah.
So sure, you're right. You're right too. So you're saying long time, some time ago is saying long time, and the other one is just finished, right? So what's the? Can you reformulate your sentence? You're right. Can you reformulate it? Is question clear to everybody? No? Go ahead, speak.
past number had, we use the word had, when we talk about the past and the task, but we are already talking about the task that is already been completed. So when I say, by the time I had reached, I say, sir, I had already had the lunch.
No. Don't confuse me with everything else. My question is pretty simple. Is my question not simple? All I am saying, in both the cases, the eating lunch is over, right? I want to know if you said I had eaten my lunch, right? And the other is I have eaten my lunch, right? In both the cases, eating is over. The first one is past, which one person says long time ago. The other is just finished. All I want, when I said reformulate, all I want to say, just now and long time are relative difference in time. Compared to just now, long time could be anything after a little while. Hope you understand. If we are referring to, let's say, 2 hours from now, I have eaten my lunch, right? If it means at 12:30, right? I had eaten my lunch refers to anything before that 12:30. It could be yesterday, it could be 5 years ago. So that's the difference between present perfect and past perfect. Okay, all right. Now, all these things play a huge role, not only in formation of sentence, but how we talk about different things. Okay, that is, there is a way to indicate not only time in the sentence, that is in terms of present, past and future, but also we can indicate different aspects on the verb, different manners in which action, whether finished, in progress and couple of other things about them. The elements of sentence that talk about such things like perfection and continuation are called aspects. So I'm glad we covered that too. Now these are the things, sometimes they are going to be visible. So how do we say when I say I'm eating? What indicates continuation in this sentence? ing where? On the verb. So if that indicates continuation, then this is not invisible category. Okay? If I say, let's say this full sentence, I am eating. So this is continuous aspect marker. What's the tense marker in this sentence? First of all, which tense is this sentence in? Everybody knows this thing? Present tense. Now, what's the aspect? What's the element in this sentence which denotes tense? Sure? I'll just take your word for that. This is the marker of tense, which is, let's say, present. Right? Because we can say the same thing, I was eating. Now, you know these things. All I am trying to do is to underline these categories in a sentence. So, again, when we say, I was eating, this is aspect marker and this is tense marker. The two things are not going to be the same thing. They are two different elements in a sentence. As a matter of coincidence, in this case, both tense marker and aspect markers are visible. Can we see both of them? They are visible. In some cases, they are not going to be visible. At least tense markers are not going to be visible. When we say, this sentence, what is the sentence? I eat mangoes. Or for that matter, I want to say, I live in Chennai. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Let's talk about sentence 3 and 4. Right? What's the tense in 3? Present tense. And tense in 4? Which part of the sentence talks about this tense? Verb talks about, verb is the place where you would ideally look for a marker of tense. But which part? Where is that? So this verb is telling us about, so why is this one not telling us? Is my question making sense to you? Don't worry about the answer. Also, I suggest you, this has no bearing on your knowing English or not. As you can see, we are not talking about learning English or learning Hindi or any other language. We are talking about these categories. We are talking about functional categories involved in making of a sentence. My question is, if this indicates tense, then why is this one not indicating tense? I don't think we can come up with simpler sentences in English. Am I right? These are pretty simple sentences. So how will we resolve this problem? I cannot say you are wrong completely, but at the same time you know that you are not right either. Am I right about that? That's a verb, that's a word, right? And on that word there is nothing else visible, not even ing. And if I am yet to talk about aspects, what's the aspect in this sentence? It's not that there is no aspect. For sure there is some aspect here. Simple is not an aspect, but there is something else. Think about that. What does this sentence tell us? Is this talking about continuous? So if I say I am living in Chennai, then that will be continuous. If I say I live in Chennai, what's the difference between I live in Chennai and I am living in Chennai? Forget about tense, both are present tense. I live in Chennai and I am living in Chennai. Both are present tense sentences. Besides that, what's the difference between the two? In terms of their meaning? Yeah, go ahead. I am eating right now. Absolutely. So hold on. So when I say I am living, so we are talking about, let's say, certain stretch of time in which I am in Chennai. If I say I live in Chennai, what sense does this give to you? Not just usually. Until no specification given, it's just that without giving any indication of time, that, or without giving continuation, it tells you about a habitual routine thing, that I live in Chennai. It doesn't tell you when I am going to discontinue living there, right, or anything else. Similarly, when I say I eat mangoes, it says, I don't have a problem. I can say, we can remove mangoes and put other things as well. It talks about not continuity, it talks about, in a sense it gives you indefinite reading, at the same time it gives you habitual reading. Therefore, sometimes this aspect is called either habitual aspect or indefinite aspect. See this thing? Now, this is just for you to see. But more than that, what I want you to be convinced that each one of you is, I am sure, convinced that there is a difference between the meaning of these two sentences. I live in Chennai and I am living in Chennai. Right? I live in Chennai and I am living in Chennai, you don't see the difference? That's all I mean. Literally there is difference in the meaning, right? That is, in the what verb indicates causes the difference. Get this thing? Therefore, living is continuous aspect. You have already seen perfective aspect. This is another one. Habitual or indefinite. So besides so this one has aspect 2, which is not visible. That is, unlike this, where ing is the marker of this continuity, there is no such marker here of aspect. At the same time, the way this thing marks tense, there is no marker of tense either. That is, 0 marker for tense, 0 marker for aspect.
There is a marker for tense.
Which is
But past tense of it is yet.
right.
So we can say since it is given, it is present tense.
That's right. I am also saying the same thing. I am saying when you
No
say,
marker of tense.
sure, I am saying, you are right. What I am saying, when you say ate, then you see the change in the form of the verb. And you can say, eat, okay, plus past becomes ate, right? But, or we can say ate is eat plus past, whereas eat is eat plus present, which is this past at least has some change in the form of the verb, and this present has got no change. Formally speaking, there is absolutely no change in the form of the word. That is what we mean when we say 0 marker on tense. We remember, and I want your careful attention here, we are not saying there is no tense. We are not saying there is no tense. There is tense, which is present tense. So all we are saying, it's not visible because it has no obvious marker on it. And even more than that, what I want you to know is lot of elements of functional categories are sometimes going to be visible, sometimes going to be not visible. And this is not language specific. Within the same language, sometimes they are going to surface, sometimes they are not going to surface. Are you with me? Making sense? Now, if someone asks you what's the marker of tense in English, or let's say more specifically, what's the marker of present tense in English? We can say, like you said, am is the marker of present tense, is marker of present tense, or marker of present tense. They are all together called verb be. Okay, let's say they are all markers of present tense. But when we say is, are, am are markers of present tense, are we giving the complete picture? The answer is no, because lot of times there is no marker of present tense. In examples like I eat mangoes, I live in Chennai. So the same category, present tense, sometimes visible, sometimes not visible. This is all I want you to keep in mind with all these examples. Before I move, any problem, confusion? Are we clear about tense and aspect? Trust me, these are underlying stuff, and I'm very happy that you can see it fast, and some of you have prior idea or knowledge about these things. It takes long time to get used to these terms, to see these terms. Not that we don't know them, we know them, but then before we see these things and we really see their functioning, it takes time. So are we clear about the distinction between tense and aspect? All right. No questions? All right. Now, in the next sentence, clear? Everybody? Even non-speakers of Hindi can figure out the meaning of these sentences? 3 and 4. Clear? You know the meaning, you know the words, all that. My question is, what's the tense in this sentence? I purposely did not talk about past tense so far because I assume you know, and the story of past tense is similar to present. Past tense could be more visible. In these cases also it's going to be visible, right? Present tense sometimes is not very much visible. No. That's one way of saying it. You are right, and I don't mean to contradict that. But all I am saying is, on the word, bare word, what you are saying, reference point, there is no marker indicating tense. We are used to seeing things in markers. There is no marker indicating tense, right? However, the past tense marker on this, when you add past tense, you get something else, right? I'll show you. There is a way to, you may have heard, when you, have you heard about physical reactions and chemical reactions? Physical properties of reactions and chemical properties of reactions. In one of them, when two things are mixed, it's almost impossible to separate them, right? There is a way to separate tense from past tense. And the moment you separate past tense, it comes in the bare form. And then you won't be able to say that this is a reference point. Just hang in for a moment. I'll show you that. You add something else in the sentence, past tense immediately comes out. And then you cannot use the past form of the verb. Give me a moment. I'll show you that. Meanwhile, please tell me, therefore I didn't talk much about past tense. Meanwhile, please tell me the tense in these two sentences. You think so or you know so? So what tells you about present tense in these sentences? Now he is bringing in third one, another one. So, what tells you about present tense in these two sentences?
Like two persons are talking to each other.
Right, so it's just saying kal milo. Which part of it, does it even indicate meaning wise any time in it? Do you see any sense of time in it? Okay, forget kal also. Simply say milo, right? Musse milo. Let's forget time. I think kal is the word which is giving you sense of future, right? Fine. Let's drop that one. Musse milo. In this sentence, is there any reference of time?
Like booking an appointment in the future.
We are not very clear about that. We are not saying that don't meet today. We could very well mean aaj or future.
So, are you saying it's the word seeing, it's the sentence seeing?
Exactly.
Then it's
I'm asking you, what is it?
You're not clear.
You're not clear.
It's present.
It is present. How? Because both the positions need to be justified. If it is not clear, why is it not clear? If it is present, why is it present?
Because there are no markers on see.
Because there is no marker on the verb see, therefore it should be present tense? Because you have just seen something like that? That's not true.
because they're already meeting now and if they're telling we'll meet.
So, do you see the confusions and contradictions?
So if we say mujhse mil,
Yeah.
then
Let's not talk about a lot of Hindi in this thing, because everybody doesn't speak Hindi to follow you at that level, and therefore I am giving the glosses, proper glosses. Mil will not change anything. It's simply mujhse mil. The reference is not tum, it's something else. Miliye is aap mujhse miliye. Milo is tum mujhse milo, and mujhse mil is more informal than that. Only the degree of formality changes. Mil, milo or miliye. Nothing else changes. The point I am trying to show you that in these sentences there is no tense. Absolutely no tense. It gives you a sense of tense tomorrow because of the word, or because we know that definitely it is not past. When I ask you mujhse milo, we could not possibly be talking about past. We could either be talking about today or tomorrow or whenever. Therefore, it's restricted only to present and future, and more likely, as you were right, that because there is no marker, we would tend to believe this is present tense. But actually there is no sense of time in these two sentences. Alright? They are called imperative sentences. I don't want to throw in all kinds of words or terms same day, but let me just cross check quickly. If you have heard that this word mood, anybody? Mood? Not good mood or bad mood. No, that's all right. This is not a problem and not an issue. So all I am, let's look at it the following way. Some sentences, particularly imperative ones which indicate request or formal informal distinctions, such sentences, verbs in such sentences indicate no tense, have got no tense. Clear? Okay. I need to introduce this thing to show you little bit more on tense. Can you look at the screen? Are you looking at the screen? What does sentence number 5 tell you? It's a future tense sentence, right? It's a future tense sentence. Now, there are two markers of negation in this sentence. One is nahi and the other is mat. And this, do you see a star marker on mat? Do you see a star marker on mat? That star mark tells you that mat, if you use mat in this sentence, then the sentence is not good. So we cannot say Raju school mat jayega. That is what that star tells you. The idea is there are two major markers of negatives in Hindi, in a language like Hindi. They are mat and nahi. With me? In sentence number 5, only one is allowed. The other one, which is mat, is not allowed. When we say not allowed, it means if you try to use that one, then the sentence is bad. Check with anybody who speaks Hindi, they will tell you. Can we say that sentence? Raju school mat jayega, is that a good sentence? Not a good sentence. Alright? Now, why? We are going to look at that in a moment. However, in the second sentence, that is number 6, we can use either one of the two. We can say nahi jao or mat jao. Either way, the sentence is good. The point that I'm trying to make through these two sentences is, out of the two negative markers, one, mat, gets used in a sentence only when there is no tense. If you try to use this word mat in any sentence which has tense, could be future, could be present, could be past, the sentence will not be right. The sentence will not be grammatical. The sentence will not be good sentence. This is another proof to tell you that sentence number 6 has got no tense. Look at 3 and 4 again. Can we use mat in these two sentences? Mujhse mat milo. We can say that. Mujhse mat miliye. We can say that. Right? Sentence 1 and 2. Can we use mat in 1? Raju ne chai mat pi. No. Seema ne seb mat khaye. Can we say that? No. Now, if some of you speak Hindi, I am completely accepting your judgment about these sentences. By judgment meaning grammaticality judgment, right? Which again reflects things that I have told you earlier. That these things are part of knowledge of language. You know about the ungrammaticality of these strings, but I am positive that you are looking at these sentences for the first time. Am I right? It's your judgment that Raju ne chai mat pi is not a good sentence, right? But did you think about this sentence before, Raju ne chai mat pi? Now the reason why I am asking you this thing, not that there is anything wrong that you didn't see these sentences so far. How did you become 25, 23 without looking at these sentences? That's not the point. The point is, as a speaker of language, we don't need to look at these things, yet we know these things, right? These things have happened to us when we were figuring out rules while acquiring language. If you want to learn a language with instruction, you need to be told these things, these differences. If you are doing things, if you are growing up with a language, you don't need to do this. Yet you know that. And if later on someone tells you like this, sentence number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pretty simple sentences are going to look like magic to you. That they contain kinds of information that we never paid attention to, however we use these things 100 times a day. Nowhere you are going to find a single speaker of Hindi who will say, Raju ne chai mat pi. Point taken? I have told you that I do want you to keep applying some of these things to other languages as well. These things are available in other languages too. And I can make that blanket statement on the basis of my understanding of generative facts. I just don't know the examples of them. That also shows you the role of input. That I can say that there must be 2 negative markers in Tamil also. There must be 2 negative markers in Malayalam also. But because I don't have Tamil or Malayalam input, so I don't know. Now there are going to be language internal differences too. In a language like Hindi, the negative marker is always going to be a word, nahi or mat. In a language like Tamil, sometimes negative markers are merged together with the verb, right? Same thing applies in Kannada, same thing applies in Malayalam. Now these are language internal facts, language internal things. However, negative markers are going to be there. Negative markers can only follow verbs. Is that true in Tamil? Negative markers follow verbs. So how do we say this one? Mat milo. Loudly. Loudly. So which?
Par is see.
Okay.
Parkada means don't see.
Okay.
Or parka vendam is don't see.
So what's the negative marker in that?
Par plus kada is parkada. Or vendam is a separate word which comes after par, which means
Don't come. Right?
don't see.
Don't see. So negative marker is following the verb. See this thing? Negative markers may be preceding in Tamil too. Right? I think if you say a sentence like this, Raju school nahi jayega, in these sentences you will need to use the negative marker illa. Am I right? So, similar distinction exists that if we are talking about tenseless sentences, you have to use a different negative markers, a different negative marker. If we are using a tense sentences with tense, you need to use a different negative marker. Can we use the word illa in the previous one? Mujhse don't meet with me or meet with me. When we say don't meet with me, can we use illa? No. Do you see the distinction that I am talking about? The distinction that exists between mat and nahi is the distinction that exists in Tamil. Now, for every sentence we don't have either time or we don't need to do this thing. This is where I request you, I suggest you, please keep thinking about the languages that you speak, that you grew up. Keep applying these things and then you will be able to see that. Now, the final point that I make and then we will stop. No, I'll come to that later. Now, look at this. In English, so let's say this thing in past tense. How do I say this sentence? Number 3 in past tense? I ate mangoes. Right? Everybody, you don't need to write this sentence. But now I ask you to negate that sentence. Say it again. Did not eat mangoes. Do you see what's going on? Hold on. Slow. I know you guys are very intelligent, but keeping the speed under control limit always helps. The moment you introduce negative, the tense marker is going to get dissociated with the verb. Okay? Is going to get dissociated with the verb. And then you see verb in the bare form. What's that? We say, I did not eat. So, did not eat, we cannot say, I not ate. Right? So much so that it makes you laugh. Neither do we say, I ate not. We need to say, I did not eat. The use of negative markers in a language like English separates these two from past tense. So the past tense becomes, this indicates past tense, and then we have to put not, and then the verb comes in 0 form. which has got no tense. So if this is the verb, if this is the form of the verb which has got no tense marker, then this is the form of the verb which we say it has tense, but the marker is 0. If you can see this thing, then I am showing you something absolutely abstract and invisible. Trust me, there is no microscope for this. Do you see this thing? Do you see or not? That is true, my dear, but what I am saying something else. I am saying after did is removed from the verb, this verb is bare form. This doesn't have any tense marker on it. The tense is here, right? Because this is a 0 form, therefore this is a 0 form. And the marker is 0. There is tense, but the marker of tense on this verb in this sentence is 0. Right? So, the introduction of negative helps you separate tense and verb in a language like English. Okay? And then you can see the bare form. Now, as we move on further, please remember this example. These are the examples that are not coming just like that. These are the example that we are talking about. We are talking about these examples purposely. I wanted you to understand, or I'll bring you to this point again, that when we say tense marker comes before the verb or after the verb, right? That's a very trivial and superficial discussion. What actually happens is tense marker, when you see them around the verb, actually it's not around the verb, it's around tense. And it so happens that tense is found around verb. So, the negative marker is associated with tense, which itself is an invisible category. Negative markers are not invisible category. Negative markers you can see clearly in many languages. They get attracted to verbs because tense are hosted on verbs. I'll talk about subject and predicate some other time. Therefore, verbs become the most significant aspect of a sentence. Therefore, sometimes it's also said that verbs are powerhouse of a sentence. All kinds of information about agreement, number, person, gender, tense, aspect, you can see in or around verb. Hope some of this makes sense. Yes? Then I think we need to stop, right?